Hello everyone, JL Wasabi here. In today's video, we will be talking about the new patch 14.7 that just dropped. But before we begin, I would like to remind you to like the video if you find it useful and also to subscribe to my channel if you haven't done so. So this is the new patch 14.7 that just dropped. It's a rather small patch compared to the previous few patches. So there's not even a summary of the patch highlights for this time round. So onto the system changes, Radiant item names. So while having unique Radiant item names can be fun and quirky, it can make it difficult to find the exact items. So they're changing all Radiant items name to be Radiant-craftable item names such as Radiant Tomeal, Radiant Bloodthirster, etc. So this is just a simplified way of naming the items. Carousel prioritization. So now you won't be punished as much for missing a carousel pick. Go ahead and grab that glass of water. So if you don't pick an item on carousel from stage 5 onwards, they will not prioritize completed items for you. If you miss picking an item for whatever reason, like you went to the toilet, you went to get something, or even if your game lags. So for large changes, Cypher is overperforming both in our high skill and professional environments. With higher skill competitions about to start, we're coming with substantial nerfs. So this is usual. They usually nerf this lost trait right before the competition starts. Exotech landed particularly strong after our 14.6 buffs in terms of the health and speed, attack speed for 5 and 7 Exotech. It was more due to Exo rather than tech, so we are lowering the HP value you get for slamming items, while sneaking a bit of AD to make Hollow Bow more flexible across Exotech units. Okay, this one includes like Zeri and even any other units you might be equipping the Exotech emblem with. Last patch, we took Vanguard 6 from 40% to 48% max health shield, and while this made unplayed trade, it was not unplayable, more playable. It did so too consistently. Okay, so they are going to nerf it slightly. So for Cypher, the base loss value has been decreased for stage 2, 3, and 4. So if you lose the fights during stage 2, 3, and 4, you gain slightly less Cypher stats from it. Executioner bonus crit chance. So it has been increased back to the original. For 4 and 5, Executioner is back to 45% and 55%. Right? So this is before the nerfs. So usually they also do it, even for the previous set, I believe they also normalize back the values for Ambusher trait. So this is similar. So expect Executioner comp to be back in the meta because they were quite strong at the start of the set. So it's usually the case. They usually have it strong at the start, and then they will nerf it, and then they'll buff it back. For Exotech 7, so this is the decrease in the health gain per item equipped onto your Exotech units. So this will definitely make your front line slightly less tanky and harder for your Zeri to scale up at the back, but this definitely does not kick it out of the meta. It's still a very strong trait to be playing. So Hollow Bow, yeah, as they say, is more flexible item to be using now. For Nitro, the HP per stack for your T-Rex or your robot is now increased from 11 to 12, but I don't think it makes it much more playable because it's actually rather weak comp right now, because I think re-rolling too many units is not very preferable right now in this meta. For Vanguard 6, it's been decreased from 48% to 45% for the max health shield for 6 Vanguards. On to one-cost champions changes. While we enjoyed seeing a one-cost reroll line focused around one giant powerful Mundo, refer to him as Gorilla, we are not convinced that even 100 smaller, less powerful units could take him on. So we're reducing his power ceiling by lowering his max HP heal ratio while strengthening the weakest one cost in his go-to comp. So they are nerfing Dr. Mundo, but only for his healing HP ratio from 5% to 2%, just a very slight nerf in my opinion. While Zyra's damage is getting a buff for all different levels, for her main damage as well as secondary damage. So you don't always just want to equip your Seraphine, and then even if you equip your Zyra, you therefore transfer your items once you get 2-star brand. So this may not be the case anymore. And all the more for your normal Street Demon comp as well is a better item carry early game. And also, if you manage to even get a 4-star Zyra, she might be even more viable right now because her ratio is actually quite high. And for Vi, so while great in the early game, we see Vi levels out in the late game, so you got a nerf to her 1-2 punch. So meaning for the 1 and 2 star Vi, the shield AP ratio is getting nerfed. But for 4-star Vi, if you actually get it through, what are the cases you can get it? Like maybe your Cypher cash out, or even if you get Worth the Wait Vi. So if you get a 4-star Vi, her shield AP ratio is higher. For 2-cost champions, as the go-to tank for Nitro-based reroll comp, Shyvana's burning herself. A better AP to HP ratio would help her comp online. So Shyvana HP gain got buffed again, so she's been getting a lot of buff. She's still not the best frontline to be having because she is not focused on mainly tanking. She also does damage AoE around her. So I think that's the issue. So you don't necessarily want to rely on her as a sole main tank. You need several main tanks, other bastion units. So Graves' power ceiling with artifacts takes advantage of his 5 auto pellet, so it is finally getting nerfed. So Wit's End and Titanic Hydra Graves will only trigger 1 time per attack instead of 5 times. So it is obviously a huge nerf. So the original power level is now 20% of the current, and Graves' projectile damage also decreased slightly. So for me, I haven't gotten so lucky to get Wit's End and Titanic Hydra for my Graves comp. I've been solely playing with the usual items like QSS, Sterex, and your Hodge. So he's still very strong if you are in the right spot for it and you get him early and he can snowball with all your Godot stacks. So he's still playable. His comp is definitely still playable, but just not a straight win out condition like now with Witsen and Titanic Hydra, which is fair, right? Because I've encountered many of these comps, and the moment they get their Witsen Graves or Titanic Hydra Graves is no winning against them. So it's a bit unfair. No changes to 3-cost champions. So for 4-cost champions, M comps are one of the strongest level 9 bots, and much of the ceiling is due to any splashing backlines, okay, while Samira finishes them off. So it makes sense to use Ziggs and Kobuko in the comps to activate Cyberboss. Further strategies, lowering any damage allow them to spread the power of M into units that are performing well across other comps like Nico and Ziggs. So Nico and Ziggs getting buffed, and Samira is getting nerfed. So this buff should help the late game bots that are unable to compete with the dominant AP bots, such as Street Demon Strategist and Cyberboss. So Annie's mini fireball damage, this is the secondary damage which is buffed up by the amp trait, is being nerfed. So it might look like it's a small thing, but with the amp multiplier, it's actually quite a big nerf to a damage. Cho'Gath getting 100 more HP. Nico's shield AP ratio getting buffed as well, so this helps with a Street Demon bot, vertical Street Demon. Ziggs base ability damage also getting increased at 1 star and 2 star. So I think this in general buffs the vertical Street Demon bot because you use Ziggs and Nico most of the time and Ziggs sometimes. It also buffs the strategist bot because from the previous few patches, LeBlanc was also being buffed, Echo was also being buffed for his healing. So I think I might even try to be playing strategist reroll even without Cypher. So not too sure if it's viable, but definitely it will not be a no-go for sure. Yeah, so we will definitely try to test it out. Vex ability damage getting buffed slightly. So with the Executioner buffs, I think this also puts the pure Executioner vertical comp back into a playable state as compared to previous few patches. For 5-cost champions, so what is this? Coit, Blob Gagadon, the Blob Apocalypse, whatever you want. Zach's been popping up at the top of damage and damage taken charge alike thanks to his blob, where we are lowering the AP he gets from each blob, increasing AP ratio. So if you want to equip AP items on him, you can still play this tanky boy. So the AP is being nerfed, but the HP is still staying the same. So AP per blob goes from 4 to 2. It's quite a big change. But of course, we usually do not use Zac solely as like a damage dealer. So it's like a good to have, but we usually use him as a main tank because when he gets a lot of blobs, he's very, very tanky in terms of his health increasing with the blobs. So his ability AP ratio, however, is increased to compensate for this change. So the base Z is definitely better, but as you get more blobs, he is not as he doesn't deal as much damage as previously. So Samira's base bullets also increased from 20 to 22. So this definitely benefits your vertical Street Demons comp or just playing Samira by herself without her amp, because her bullets per amp is now decreased from 2 to 1. So in an amp comp, she will definitely do a lot less damage together with the nerfs in Annie. So not too sure if your level 9 strategist amp bot is still will be very strong compared to now, where you can stabilize quite hard once you reach the comp. I think it might shift the focus back towards a reroll Yumi comp, but I'm not that sure. Augment changes. So made a hard decision to disable a favorite, both competitively overpowered black market augment. So this is the most reaction time heavy moment, think fast. So this one will be disabled. We're also disabling spare parts due to a bug with the turret. This is very funny because I think so far I haven't seen anybody got the Easter egg, because I think it was supposed to be with nitro and with spare parts. Like when your turret gets a certain number, it might evolve like the T-Rex, but I don't think anybody gotten that because it's so difficult to play nitro and nitro is so weak. Yeah, so you probably it's so difficult to get to the Easter egg. So for now, they're disabling it, as well as overclock because it's not our best work. From I saw Modok's video, he was saying that because overclock is not performing well, but I don't necessarily agree so because I've seen many people play overclock, including myself. It's actually quite strong because once you equip your like Nidalee or even your Naafiri with 3 items, they are doing a lot of damage, and it helps to transition well into your late game comp. So overclock asks you to run amp but not play the comp as a pure vertical, which is a bit counterintuitive. That's not true. And then gives you reroll while asks you to equip items on your amp units. Yeah, so I'm not too sure why they disable it, but I mean it's in their stats. So last stand HP also reduced from 200 to 150 because it's a bit strong right now. Duda's echo damage got increased a bit. Tom-plated armor healing also got decreased. I think this one probably is due to 3-star Garner making a very strong augment right now, because the previous patch his armor ratio to his damage got increased quite a bit. Everyone's like running the Kog'Maw Garner comp right now. So he one-shots backline quite often, so I think this is, especially with the Tom-plated armor augment. For small changes, Vayne's AD got buffed. Okay, hoping to play more Slayer Vayne reroll. Fiddlestick's attack speed got increased, not a huge deal. Miss Fortune AD got increased again, she got buffed again, and the 7 Syndicate piercing damage got increased. So I did try to play a Miss Fortune game where I was like, I didn't want to play a marksman game because I was so sick of marksman, and I played Miss Fortune. She was still playable, but I think definitely not so strong as compared to the marksman comp, so I think this one helped her a bit. Renekton's HP increased by 100, similar to Cho'Gath. For augment wise, memory bank is no longer offered on 3-2. I mean, you do want to get it early because when you get it at 3-2, the amount of mana you need to gain is still the same as when you get it on 2-1. So of course, if you are logical enough, you will not be picking it anyway. So maybe no one bothers picking your 3-1. That's why they are no longer offering it. So the rest of the changes of the patch are on double up, as well as Remix Rumble. So more changes to like your units mainly, and further nerfing the true damage augment. Pengu's Party as well. So this one are the old traits changes. Bug fixes also nothing to do with the main set, only to do with double up, Remix Rumble, and Pengu's Party. So you can read them on your own. So once again, if you reach the end of the video and you learned something from here, don't forget to like the video and subscribe to my channel for more gameplay videos as well as guides. So until next time, bye bye.